Hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of the Jasmin and Ashley podcast. Today we're going to talk about a very controversial topic, which is financial abuse, my $25,000 mistake. So I'm sure most of you are wondering, okay, what do we mean by this topic? But we're going to get into a lot of details why it's called this way. So first and foremost, before we jump into this podcast, let's first talk about what exactly is financial abuse, because financial abuse can be, different meanings. It could be, different types of things causing it. And one of the common, definitions of financial abuse is someone fraudulently taking money from you, someone taking advantage of you financially, someone taking control of you through money, or constantly coming to you for loans and that person doesn't even care to pay you back. So there's different types of financial abuse, and it typically happens in relationships, households, businesses, people just taking advantage of different people, elderly people,
Your
people who are in,
friends.
your friends. So many different types of financial abuse happens every day, and I'm sure most of you that are listening have been victims of financial abuse. And Jasmine and I, we've mentioned in episode 1 that we've dealt with ex-boyfriends who thought it was okay to take advantage of us financially, and we were so furious from those experiences. So we said to ourselves, no, fuck it, let's just talk about it in a podcast, just breaking down what we went through, what we learned, and what some people don't even realize when they're in these situations. And
Mhm.
I first want to start off with Jasmine because, as I have already mentioned, the episode is called Financial Abuse, My $25,000 Mistake. And Jasmine is the highlight of this particular episode because someone that she dated used her as a personal ATM machine, and it was a messed up situation. And I really want to have Jasmine share her experiences and just lay it all out.
Mhm. And
She
when I
agreed to lay it out, so let's lay it all
Yep.
out.
There is nothing I'm not willing to cover. If we had done this episode even 2 years ago, I would have been so freaking embarrassed. I was so ashamed. And I feel like, I feel like we've both come to the place where we really accepted the situation and we grew so much from it. And I have to admit, I am honestly so glad I went through that situation looking back, because now I can just spot all the red flags. And what I mean, so the title is called My $25,000 Mistake. And that's my pretty accurate estimation over the course of an 8-year relationship, how much
Wow.
I probably spent on this guy. Um, and obviously 8 years is a seriously long time to be in a relationship. And I have to mention that this was my first relationship ever. I had my first boyfriend at 20 years old. I had no experience. I had no idea what was normal in a relationship. And so the way that this started, and it was such a slow progression. And now looking back, dude, this guy really had me on a rope. He really took me for a fool, and I was just so in love that I had no idea what was going on. I seriously trusted him so much. I really thought he had my best intentions at heart, but that was not the case. And I mentioned in the first episode, so he had narcissistic personality disorder, and almost every situation I've heard of where, people have been duped out of money, it's usually because it's people with this type of personality. They're so manipulative. They will make you think, completely change your whole reality and make you think they're in the worst position ever. All they need is a little bit of money to survive. And I I guess in general, my motivation for helping him originally, and keep in mind, anytime I gave this guy money, it was from my heart. I sincerely believed he needed it. And I thought I was being the supportive girlfriend, fiance, wife at the time and really helping him. So, and I wanted to support him. But looking back, dude, it was just all a freaking game. And I guess we could start off with like, so in the beginning, when we got together when we were 20, we were the same age. Um, and after college, I had my first full-time job pretty quickly. He was still in college. First, dude, there's so many red flags looking back, but this guy,
Jasmine, take your time. I mean, just you're doing so well right now. I'm sure you're past it, but the fact that you're like really saying, it was all a game,
it
don't
was,
feel embarrassed. Like, say it proudly, say that statement proudly, and don't feel ashamed, because not too many people can get out of it.
yeah.
They can't get out of these games quickly because there's no one guiding them, there's no one intervening, and most people don't go to people and say, hey, I'm giving this guy so much money, I'm giving this girl so much money. No one's not that many people is an open book. So I'm happy to hear, the way that you're telling your story. It's really important for everyone that's listening.
And I have a feeling in general, I've honestly, it's rare for me to hear other women with this experience, but I'm sure loads of men have this experience of women that were just using them, even if it's just to
Exactly.
buy them purses, take them out on trips, and like it turns out they never even really loved them. They were just using them financially.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of the same sense here. So I really hope like this helps others, especially if you've gone through this. Like seriously, do not feel embarrassed, do not feel ashamed. And I know the anger, honestly, the getting over the anger was the hardest part for me when I looked back. Like, so I guess to start off with, so as I mentioned, so like I started having a full-time job right out of college, and he was still in school, and like he was just like messing around. And a lot of times, like especially I have to mention in the beginning, he paid for everything. Everything.
Oh, really?
And I think that was the trick. He
Wow.
Because I think he used that specifically to make me want to help him later, because he could always bring that out of his pocket. Like, hey, like I covered dinner last time. Like, hey, do you mind covering dinner this time? It was such a slow progression. And that's why I think like over time, my real estimation might be $50,000. And if we're adding the cost of emotional pain and struggle, that would be like a freaking $1 billion. So he's lucky that I only have $25,000 on legal forms. And I can't wait to get to the legal aspect, which Ashley has experience with.
Oh my God.
Dude,
Jasmine, you cracked me up when you said you're adding emotional pain to
yes,
the total expense.
that was so fucking real, dude. And honestly, that's like,
I wish this was something that we can, do in the court system, like emotional stress.
and I think it is, but like you'd have to have like legit proof. Like I'm sure
Like
if
you
like,
had to see a therapist, you
yep,
had to do this, you had to do
get
that,
all
you couldn't do
documented.
this, you couldn't sleep, or whatever.
So
But Jasmine, I really, before you start,
yeah.
what I have to ask you this question. What was it like in the beginning stages? Like, when did the shift happen where he's paying for everything and then it shifted to you paying for everything?
I think it started when he realized that I was willing to keep paying for his stuff.
Wow.
And I think that's when he got in his head, like, oh man, like she's giving me all this. Like, yeah, like let's see what else I can get out of her. So in the very beginning, I think this was, man, I wish I could go back in time, but and this is when so Ashley and I used to work together, and like this, it was around that time period when my intuition was screaming at me. But again, because this was my first relationship, I had no idea what normal was. And this dude was such a great manipulator and gaslighter that I actually felt guilty if I didn't help him and give him money. And it wasn't, when I say give money, I didn't mean like, I wasn't like literally handing him cash and stuff like that. What I mean was that, like, for example, he, as a narcissist, again, please Google this if any of this resonates with you for the type of person I'm describing. Because like they're so predictable, and I really wish I saw this sooner. But I think at the moment my intuition started screaming at me was when he was working over, his job at the time was he was a doorman on the night shift. And so of course, manipulators love playing the victim role. So for him, it's like, oh, my mom didn't cook anything. I had nothing in the house. Now I have to work all night and I have no food. I'm so tired. I'm so hungry. Boo, boo-hoo. And so me being like, dude, like I was freaking in love with him. I'm like, oh my God, poor baby. Like, how can I help him? And so it started off with he I offered him my Seamless account to get some food when he needed it. Do you know, after maybe 2 weeks, and again, it's a slow progression. You know, he was doing it like maybe like once a week or something like that. Like, and from my point of view, it was like when he really needed it. That's what I meant it for, when he really freaking needed it. And suddenly he spent in 1 week $500 on Seamless. I was so freaking livid. Oh my God, it took me so, I was so freaking angry. And then when I talked to him about it and I confronted him, he played the victim role. They're such great manipulators, dude, and complete gaslighting. And he's like, you have everything. You have a full-time job. You never have to worry about money. Your mom cooks for you every day. I have nothing. And like, again, when you're in love, like, I'm a very sympathetic person. Like, I completely forgot about my anger and I wanted to make sure he was okay. And he used that to his advantage. And then over time, again, this is a gradual progression. First it was food, and then it was like, oh, I never have any good clothes to wear. Like, I don't make enough money, blah, blah, blah. And again, there's nothing I'm not willing to talk about on this episode. And as much as embarrassing as it sounds, I ended up paying for his tuition.
Oh my God. I never heard of that part, but that is something that you never told me.
And it was like
directly
$600 a semester. And keep in mind, he never even freaking went to school. You know, the only reason.
Oh my God, dude, no way.
Yo, I'm putting, if
so what happened? Did you ever get the money back? Like, you gave him the money for their tuition since he didn't even do anything. Did you ever? But nothing. Jasmine, I have to ask you, did it really go to tuition, or did he tell you it was for tuition? Did you physically go on a website? Did you physically mail a payment to the school, or?
Oh, it actually was for tuition, because
oh my God, wow.
He used my credit card, and I remember seeing it on the statement.
Oh and my God.
My God, it's gonna be hard for me not to have my anger floating back up again. This is why I meditate, people. Like,
no, you're absolutely right. And as you mentioned, you have to just release it and just talk about it at some point. Yep. And talking about it is, it's a stress reliever. Like, just letting it out, it makes you feel better afterwards. Like, holding it all in, you're gonna keep thinking about it. It's gonna keep replaying in your head. You're like, damn, like, what was I doing with this person? Like, what was I thinking? Dishing it. He was taking, and I wasn't getting anything back. Yeah. But it's hard. But I don't want this podcast to like get you like too riled up.
Oh, no. And honestly, like, I have to say, whenever the anger flares up, especially like when I first realized all of this was going on, I was so freaking angry. Like, I legit bought like glass cups and plates like from the 99-cent store and went to a dead end and was just like throwing like.
Oh my God. I've never heard of anyone doing this. You have a very interesting way to like show your frustrations.
You know, when a man like just like punches through the wall, like.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I need to release anger like physically. So like I had to do that. But throughout my anger, when I really think about it, of course I was angry at him, but honestly, I was most angry at myself. And learning how to forgive myself was the hardest part. I was in love. I didn't know any better. Knowing the information I had now, obviously things would be different, but like, and again, this is why I'm thankful for the experience, because like, if I ever encounter this again, like, dude, like, this shit is never, ever, ever flying past by me again.
And I have a question. When you said like, you don't want to ever, encounter this again, do you want to bring, like, would you bring this up for the next relationships or the next guys that you talk to? Like, would you like want to like mention your experience, or you just want to like test it out and not like bring it up? Like, you know what I mean? Like some people would want to like mention, you know, in the past I've dealt with trust issues because this guy was always financially abusing me.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give that person, you know, a little warning or a heads up, like, okay, I hope you're not going to repeat the same thing that this guy did to me or this girl did to me. Would you going forward mention it to any other guy that you really want to get serious with? Like
If
mention what, like all of the situations that happened with you and your ex?
That's a really good question, because I feel like if I'm at the point where I'm getting serious with a guy, I've done my due diligence and I completely trust and love him in a healthy way. Because I've only experienced unhealthy relationships. So now I'm really starting to see like what a healthy relationship is. And I think it would be important to mention, just so he understands where I'm coming from, if I'm uncomfortable with certain things. Like, oh, my earring fell off.
Wait, what was that, a sign that she was lying just now? But just kidding. Just kidding.
You know, I'm just gonna like, I'll just tilt my head to the side.
I'm just joking with you, Jazz. I'm just joking.
No, I think it would be important to mention because you know, let me take this off now. It's gonna look weird. I think it's gonna be important to mention just because it's like, if there's things I'm uncomfortable with, because so, you know, I think moving forward, I'm absolutely not paying for shit. I'm gonna say that outright. I expect to be spoiled. I expect to be treated like the queen I am. So I'm not paying for shit. Like if I'm a great gift giver, I'll give gifts, but I'm not paying for shit. If he needs money, then I'm sorry, like that's your problem. My money is my money, and that's.
Oh my God, Jasmine, I think you might change your mind, because when you get in a very, very serious relationship, I'm in a serious relationship, a serious marriage, you want to do things 50-50, 20-80, depending on who makes more money or whatever the situation is. But I agree with you. The guy needs to put in work. The next gentleman that comes in your life needs to put in work. If you guys are in, you know, the dating stage and money comes up real quickly, you're gonna be like, let me just take a couple of steps back, because I don't understand why this guy is asking me for money. Or
That's the
like
thing.
if it's something like, can you spot tip or gas or toll? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like if it's like small expenses, okay, yeah, you can help. You can help a guy out.
Yeah.
But large loans,
No, you know,
record player scratch. That's it. Not happening.
and obviously, like, you know, I'm exaggerating, and like I haven't been in a healthy relationship, so
Yeah.
obviously my opinions will change later on. But like, if it's because, all right, and this is just my point of view. You could agree or disagree, but I really feel that men should be providers. I want to be taken care of. If I'm going to be with a guy long term,
you're right. You're right.
Like, I'm sorry, like because when I think about it, if I was a man, if I was in the provider role, I would feel so embarrassed asking my woman for money. Before I even think about asking her, I would go through my parents, my siblings, my friends. Like she would be the last absolute person I would ask. And so from that mentality, like that's just my point of view. Like that's why I feel like if a guy is so ready to ask a woman, like where's your manhood? Like,
Jasmine, I have to interject. There are certain circumstances that are out of our control. They could have lost their job. Some emergency where they don't even have the funds for, they can't go in their retirement money. We totally understand like different, situations can, just change things. And then they may have to come to you and say, hey, I have this bad situation. Can you please like loan me money and then I'll pay you back? Now, I have to agree with you on the whole provider situation, that when I was brought up, we were told that the man is the head of the household. Like the man is going to be giving his checks to the wife. The wife handles the bills and handles taking care of the kids and all that stuff. And that's a typical norm. Now, in 2021, right now, it changed. Women are now head of households. probably more than men, and men are now head of households, or they, there's equal head of households. So, the dynamic has changed now. But I feel in terms of providing, I wouldn't necessarily put everything in the guy's hands. And I'm only saying this because so many women are so independent. And there's nothing wrong with being independent. There's nothing wrong, there's nothing wrong with making your money, he makes his money, and then you guys don't have to share each other's money. There's also nothing wrong with him providing everything, like putting all the food on the table, him, helping you out, paying for things, not having you pay for bills. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. But I personally think in terms of the provider role, you can't really say it's going to work like that for every situation, because for relationships, the both of you may not be making the same income. She might make more than him. He might make more than her. So I get sometimes it may be a little confusing in terms of, okay, well, shouldn't you be the provider, or this person should be the main provider? Like, it really depends on the income situation and who's making more money, who can afford it. Because if there's kids involved, would you say he should pay for all of the kids' expenses, the wife expenses, and his? What is your standpoint in that? Because you said that you feel that if you move on to another serious relationships, that you should not be paying for much. Like, do you think it's fair?
So if kids are involved, like, obviously,
if there's kids involved, like, do you feel it's fair that the person should still be the main provider?
No, I'm done. Like, those are my kids. I am giving them the world if I could. Like, nah, I'm not like cutting any expense when it comes to my kids.
Exactly.
And I have to admit, like, so throughout this conversation, and this is probably why I'm single, like, I'll admit it, like, I really still have like a lot of negative thought processes and beliefs around relationships and around money. And this is part of me growing. This is part of me learning and getting through that experience. And, a lot of stuff I'm saying, it's coming from a place of hurt. It's coming from me not wanting to make those same mistakes again.
No, I totally understand what you're saying, because you're basically saying these past experiences are still at the back of my mind, and I'm holding this guard up because of this hurt that my ex put me through. Mm-hmm. I went through the same situation after I dealt with my crazy ex.
Yeah, could we get into that story?
Because
like, how did it? Yeah, how
did it? Is anyone ready to get into that story?
I'm ready. And you have such great experience, like, on the legal side too, which I'm so interested in hearing more about.
Okay, so for everyone listening, for the record, I dealt with a guy who I thought was Mr. Right. I thought he was my soulmate. I was so infatuated with his sense of humor. He was always fun to like hang around with. He was always going to the gym, like looking so hot and sexy. And I'm so mesmerized. Like, oh my God, he's so hot. He's so funny. He's so cool to be around. So that was all of these things that was going on in the beginning, all these butterflies in my stomach. I'm like, I can't wait to see him. I can't wait to be with him. So in the beginning of the relationship, we were attracted to each other physically.
Same.
That was the first thing that just like caught us together. Like, we just like kept looking at each other and saying, oh my God, like we turned each other on, the kissing and all that stuff was involved.
I want to say great dick will keep you in a relationship longer than you should be in. That's a trap.
Jasmin, I can't deal with you right now. So when I was dealing with this guy, now, Jasmin, the difference between my ex and your ex, he was not narcissistic. That is, in terms of personality, one of the biggest things that I felt I should have picked on quickly was he was always about himself. Like, he would look in the mirror constantly, like making sure his outfits were right, like constantly like trying to be like a hot shot. Like, when we're together going outside, getting ready to go to a restaurant, he always wanted to make sure, he was the center of attention, like, girls checking him out. And
that's
Jasmine,
narcissistic.
it was so fucking annoying. Like, I thought, okay, maybe it's his personality. Let me just stay in this relationship, because that's just him. He just wants to make sure all the girls has their eyes on him. And it just got annoying. I'm like, why is he always doing that? Like, always trying to make sure he looks good, checking himself out, making sure he always changes his hats, his shoes, everything was about style. Like, whatever, like always making sure he looks good. And so that was like the kind of guy he was. And in our relationship, Jasmine, I have to admit, I was the one paying for all of the trips. He
Same.
never contributed when we went to Atlantic City. He never contributed on a lot of stuff that we did together. No joke, I'm not even making this shit up.
Me too.
He barely contributed on the relationship. This guy would complain to me about paying for tolls. Oh, it's too much money to come see you. He would complain to me about gas. It's too much money for me to put gas in my car to come see you. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Same here.
You're complaining about gas, toll, and there were situations where the loans come up. Like he said, I need to borrow some money. Like he was asking for money. And Jasmine, I'll tell you this right now. I was so dumb, because I remember telling him at one point, oh, if you ever need any help, I got you. Oh, if you ever need money, I got you. Like, don't worry about it. Like, let me help you out or whatever. And I kept saying, oh, I can give you $1,000 right now. I kept saying this out my mouth, not even trying to do any due diligence and try to like dig to investigate. Why is he asking for this loan? Why is he all of a sudden asking for money? Jasmine, I was, as you said, with your situation, I was so mesmerized by him, like so in love, so happy, that I was not even fucking paying any attention to this guy when money came up. Like, I wasn't really questioning, like, oh, okay, so when am I going to get this back? Or, what do you need this for? Like, this guy was just asking for it. And I wasn't like taking a step back and saying, should I even really give him money? Should I even, there wasn't even an argument. There wasn't even a conversation in terms of when I was going to get the money back. And it first started off with me giving him, I believe, like $400 here, then $1,000 there, then I think $800. Like, it just kept being like different random numbers that I was loaning to him. And every time I kept bringing up the money in text messages, he kept dodging. He kept dodging the conversation. He didn't even like try to say, oh, yes, sure. Like, I can send it to you right now. Like, there wasn't really any indication that he was going to pay me the money back. Like, that's how I knew what the fuck was going on here. Like, I didn't understand, why am I giving him all this money and he's not paying me? So
like, that thought didn't even come to your mind, right?
It didn't even come to my mind. Like, I was like, and I'm like, what? I was like, now afterwards, after the breakup, I said, why did I even go that route with even loaning him money to begin with? But before I get to that part, I first want to like bring up that when we were going on trips and doing different things, he told me, oh, I got suspended on my job. Oh, I think I'm gonna lose my job. Like, there was like certain conversations that came up like throughout the relationship where he was saying like, oh, I'm gonna lose my job. I got in trouble on my job. Like, I didn't really get what the situation was or why he was getting in trouble or why he got suspended. Like, there was all this confusion, and I'm like, it just started to get really weird the way he was talking about his financial situations, and he also had a child, and yeah, he had a child, and I never knew how much he paid in child support. So when I brought up in episode 1 of our, podcast that some people don't even mention they have a child right away, he was one of those guys that didn't mention he had a child right away. Like, he waited until maybe after the 4th or 5th. I'm not sure how many dates we went on. He waited afterwards to later on tell me, even though we were already serious, like we were seriously talking. So I was like, why did he wait so long to even mention it? And the reason why he said he waited long was because, oh, he was like, oh, I knew you were gonna stop talking to me if I told you I had a kid. And he goes, yeah, you wouldn't even have spoken to me if I told you I had a kid right away. So I was like, in hindsight, maybe I wouldn't. I don't know. I mean, he had a good heart. You know, in the beginning, he had a good heart, and I probably wouldn't have like put too much thought into it. Like, okay, I can't be with you because we have a kid. Like, I probably wouldn't have even cared then.
Yeah.
But fast forward, he never spoke about how much child support he makes. He told me the kid lives in a different state. And then towards the end, where things started to get messy, Jasmine, when I tell you when things started to get messy, I kept getting stood up. He stopped answering his phone while we were in the middle of meeting up for a date. It started to get really, it was bad. I was in Times Square one day crying like a baby because this guy stood me up, and he never explained himself. Like, we were together like on and off, and he stood me up a lot of times on dates. And
I'm so sorry, dude.
I was like, this, I was young and stupid. I did not even think at the time, it's time to walk away. I didn't even say, okay, it's time to walk away. And as you said, like you when you're thinking about the dick or whatever, the sex, you're like so caught up. Okay, it feels good. This feels good. And you're like, okay, I don't want to get out of it soon. That was the situation I was in. Like at that time, I was just thinking about the love, the sexual part of it. And I wasn't trying to say, Ashley, wake the fuck up. This guy is not good for you. Don't invest any more energy. Don't invest any more emotion into this fucking guy at all. Like, I wish I could have walked away the minute he was asking for money, but I didn't.
Same.
And then afterwards, that was when I said, I left this part out. So this guy was always buying me expensive bags like Michael Kors and all these ridiculous brands or whatever. So after I found out that this guy was blocking me on his phone, he was not answering my text messages. I kept pressing for the money that he owed me. I kept saying, like, where's this money? He made up the story about, I'm getting a settlement check. Once I get the settlement check, I'm going to pay you back all this money. This is, by the way, this is all in text messages. Like, he's like, oh, I have a settlement check. And Jasmine, I'm like,
settlement for what?
Dude, I don't even fucking know what the settlement, Jasmine, I was so dumb. I don't even know what he was getting a settlement check for. I don't even know what he was talking about. To this day, I don't even know what settlement check it was, or if there even was a settlement check to begin with. Like, who knows what was right coming out of this guy's mouth? Like, he was a liar. The whole time he was lying. Fast forward towards like when we were going through this back and forth over money, I went to his house. I went to his house, left all of the bags that he gave me in front of his house. He was living with his parents at the time. I remember speaking to his father saying, do you know your son owes me so much money? And
can I ask, why did you give the bags back?
Jasmine, if I see shit in my house that reminds me of my exes, I don't want it. Okay. I don't want that energy. I don't want any gifts that this person gave me. I don't want to look at it. Like, I was so hurt by the nonsense he put me through. I just said, look, get your shit. I don't want to look at it. I don't want it in my house. I don't want to know. So I gave him back the bags. I went back to his house. He was living with his parents, and his dad answered the door. His dad said, do you want to talk to his mom about this? I'm thinking, you're the parents. Yeah, they have no involvement in the money situation, but I don't need to tell you.
What the hell is his mom gonna do?
Like, what exactly? I was like, I don't really see the need of me going to his mother to like lay out, oh, do you know he owes me this, he owes me that, and he told me this, he told me that. Like, his parents, what? I need to go to his parents for the money that he borrowed from me? Like, no. You don't go to the parents for money that this guy or girl took from you.
Can I
Like,
mention?
it's not their financial responsibility. It's
And
not.
so for me, after my breakup, my I kept all of my parents had no idea about anything I was going through because I was so freaking embarrassed. So he after the breakup, my ex, he actually like he texted my mom saying like, oh, like yeah, she was paying the rent and stuff like that. And
Oh my
I
God.
I was so angry that I texted his dad right away and I was like, your son owes me $50,000. He did this. He was lying about because he lied so much to his dad too. He was taking money from his dad too. And that's what I called him out on everything. And then his dad texts me, oh, I have nothing to do with this. Keep in mind, after an 8-year relationship, this man was supposed to be my father-in-law. Like, bro, these people are so fucking heartless. And then my ex texts me back afterwards. He's like, why did you tell my dad? Blah, blah, blah. I'm about to get
Jasmine, the
kicked out.
same thing happens when I appeared at his house. That's when he unblocks my phone number and says, you came to my fucking house and you talked to my fucking mom or my dad. No, bro, you owe me my fucking money.
Yes.
They
Go
deserve
fuck
to
yourself.
know you're a joke. You are a joke. You take
That's why they
money
were
from
angry.
women, and now you want to complain because I went to your house and told your dad you owe me so much money? Really? Give me a
Yo,
break.
fuck these guys. I swear. And if they're listening,
So
fuck
bad.
you.
And you know what? Let's just be clear. I think Jasmine and I are being extra nice that we're not even mentioning these guys' names,
Dude, I would
where
call
they
them
live.
out right
Dude,
now.
I feel I'm being extra nice right now on this
Me too.
podcast
Me
and doing you a favor because no woman should deal with the guys that we dealt with. Okay,
Yep.
I'm putting this shit out there like this, and I didn't even get a chance to finish the whole story, but
Good. Yeah.
right after I, went to his parents' house, dropped everything, and he was like on the phone screaming, "Oh, you did blah blah blah." That was when I decided to go to the courts. I said, you know what? Let me go to small claims court and try to get the money. Like that was the first thing that came to my mind because I don't want to deal with this guy. Like, don't expect to verbally come to a resolution with someone who financially abuse you. Like sometimes you can't even verbally work things out. So if you can't verbally work it out, do it the legal way. And what I did was I went to small claims court and I said, I put it all on paper, pay the fee and everything. Now, the good thing about small claims court is you don't need to speak to a judge. You just go, it's a small claims court. You just file it, you do the case yourself, and you just attend the hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, I attended the hearing. He didn't show up. So they were asking me, can you show proof that he owes you money? Mind you, even if the other person doesn't show up, you still need to bring documents, paperwork proving that this person agreed to pay you back. So I saved all of the text messages with this guy saying, I'm going to pay you back when the settlement check, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to pay you back when I get paid, or like every time I loaned him something, I saved the text message. And that was what I brought to the court. So because he didn't show up, they said you won by default. Now, what default judgment means is basically what I just said. The person didn't show up to defend themselves and say, hey, no, she's lying, or this is not true, or whatever. I won by default. So right after the case,
And
go ahead. Yeah.
Can I ask, what proof did you have? What did you supply to the courts for evidence?
I printed out all of the text messages. I did everything in Microsoft Word. I printed screenshots, put the screenshots in Microsoft Word, printed it all out. So I actually showed them with his picture, his name. I showed them everything. And they said, okay, they awarded me judgment. They said, you showed proof he owed you the money, you won the case. Now, what happens is after I won, they sent me a court order basically showing I won and he didn't.
Mhm.
Now, what people don't know about small claims court. So if somebody says you won the case, that does not necessarily mean you're going to quickly collect the money from the other person. People think, okay, I'm going to sue you, I'm going to get my money back. No, that's not how it works. The person needs to have the money in order for you to collect the money. So if you're dealing with someone who's broke and this person owes you 50K, 25K, sweetie, you're most likely not going to get the money back. You
Yeah.
probably won't even see the money. Even if you go to court with a lawyer and pay all these ridiculous lawyer fees, how are you getting it? What, he's going to take out a loan to pay you back the money? He's going to, most of these like settlements that you hear on TV, someone winning a $3 million settlement, or $1 billion settlement, they don't pay you $3 million tomorrow. They don't pay you $3 million next week. It takes time until you get that money. In my situation, Jasmine, after I won the court case against him, I went to the court marshal. The court marshal said, you need his social security number. You can't just garnish someone's wages unless you know where they work. So I was in a very ridiculous situation because I don't know his social security number. I didn't know where he works, because I called his last job and they said so-and-so doesn't work here anymore. So I'm like fishing, trying to figure out how, okay, I won, yippee. Yeah, like I'm like celebrating, oh my God, I beat this guy, but okay, when am I getting my money back? When am I getting it? So I went through the court system. The court system said, you need to know the person's social. You need to know where they work. Because I didn't have this information, I couldn't do anything. The only thing I was able to do was send subpoenas to the banks to see which bank he had a bank account in.
Oh, wow.
So I was sending subpoenas around, and then JP Morgan Chase sent me back information showing that he has money sitting in that account. Now, from what I remembered in the documents they faxed to me, he had, Jasmine, this guy had less than $300 in his bank account.
Yo.
I mean, Jasmine, no, seriously.
This man has a
what was I gonna get out of this? Like, even if I was loaning him money, I was not gonna get anything out of it. The court marshal said, you cannot garnish someone's bank account in wages unless there's a certain amount in there. And I'm like, what's the point? Like, everyone who's listening, what is the point of going through the courts if it's an extra process to get the money back? Why is it easier to collect child support and more complicated to collect money from people who owe you money? It's like, it's the dumbest thing. I was like, is this a New York thing? Like, I wonder what it's like in other states, because New York's court system is exhausting. Like, it's like, really? Like, why do I need his social if I already proved to you this guy owes me money? Like,
yeah,
it's dumb. It's stupid to me. Like, I don't know. Like, do you feel with your situation, you would have wanted to go that route with taking him to court and just, like, do you think it would have made sense? Or do you think, like, what are your thoughts on that? Since you gave him so much money, would you have gone back in time and said, boop, here's your court papers, see you in court, get a lawyer, do whatever? Would you have done it?
Honestly, if I wasn't as healed, if I wasn't as hurt and like really needed my own space to heal, if I was more petty and if I was more angry, I definitely would have. And I have to admit, so I'm looking through my my Cash App right now, because I actually did try to do that. I tried to do it myself. So, and again, if I ever go to court, I have so much legal proof. This guy, he started after the breakup, his insane freaking brain really thought that we would get back together at some point. So I had to make it crystal clear. Look,
Jasmine,
I don't know. Oh, you guys can't see the screen, but basically, like, he started, like, after the breakup,
Dude.
like, he would start paying me like $100 here, $300 there, and I literally have it, his name with a message saying because I told him he owes me $50,000, and I have that in writing. Legally, he has a paper notarized saying that he owes me $25,000.
Wow.
He was saying like $300 for 49,700 left. Bi-weekly checks. And this lasted maybe a month. He gave me $100 for Valentine's Day saying like, here you go, love. And bro,
Who does that?
These people are so mentally
he
sick.
drains you out and had the audacity
The
to
audacity.
send you $100 on Valentine's Day. You guys not even together. And Jasmine, let me fill you in on this. Right after this mess that I dealt with my ex, he was still contacting me even while I jumped into another serious relationship.
The audacity.
He was still contacting me, leaving voice messages. Now, I had his number deleted. Now, I think I was blocking it at some point and whatever. And I'm thinking, why the hell are you contacting me? You already used me financially. Why are you contacting me? You embarrassed me.
Yep.
And tricked me into thinking that you were this loyal guy. And Jasmine, I also forgot to mention, I found out through Facebook that the money that I was giving him, this girl told me that, yo, the guy that you're seeing, I was also seeing him. She was like, yeah, you were giving him money. He was also giving me money. He was giving me the money that you were giving him. And I was like, are you effing kidding me right now? Jasmine, if she never contacted me on Facebook and told me any of this, I swear to you, I'm swearing on this podcast, I would have not thought this guy was cheating on me.
Wow.
How stupid is that?
Wow.
Hey, I didn't see. I didn't see signs that he was cheating. Like it's weird. Like people don't necessarily see it because remember, we're not living together, and you don't necessarily see it. Like when you're living in separate places, you can't always see when someone's cheating. So the fact that this Facebook message pops up out of nowhere, and she's like, by the way, I know who you are. I've seen you on his phone. Like she knew my name. I don't know how she found my Facebook because I was never Facebook friends with him.
Oh, interesting.
Dude, I don't know. I don't know how she found me. I don't care, to be honest. So for her to find me on Facebook, I was like, whoa, like how does she know who I was? Like it was kind of odd. So she told me, yeah, the money that you were giving him, he was giving me, like for the car, when he told you he needed money for his car payment. By the way, I was driving his car too. Like it was like twist after twist after twist.
Ashley,
I'm sitting here like, did this bitch just say that she was also driving his car, the same car that I was helping him to pay car payments for? I mean, and Jasmine, like you said, you didn't tell your parents, but guess what? My parents found letters that was in a bag that I had, and my mom called me screaming at the top of her lungs. Do you know, your dad and I found this letter where you're telling this guy to pay you back all this money? And she was like, you don't even give us this much money. My parents were like, you were giving this guy all of this money and you don't even give us this much money, which is true. I was so quick to loan him money, but not my parents.
Yep. And I have to say, so like even after the breakup, like one thing I did, because I think the official breakup was like, and keep in mind, like this could be like a whole other podcast episode. Yo, I had a 6-month plan to break up with this asshole. But after the breakup, damn it, I lost my thought. Damn it. All right, sorry. Go ahead. I'll come back.
It's okay. It's okay. But you know,
I'm
Jasmine,
so heated of like forgetting shit.
I really want to mention for everyone that's listening, Here's my take on this when it comes to dealing with financial abuse. Do not think it's normal. I think some people are like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing a
Yeah.
favor. Like if this person wants, like needs cash, I'm doing them a favor.
Which is why please forgive yourself. You did it out of the kindness of your heart. You did it out of love. And unfortunately, you'll deal with some manipulators sometimes, and that's okay. Like, it wasn't your fault. Seriously, you had no idea.
And speaking of manipulation, what I want to mention too is I think, and this is just me, Jasmine, I don't know if you want to agree or not. Sometimes the manipulation is happening in stages.
Yeah. That's how they manipulate.
That's the thing that people are not realizing. It's happening in stages. The beginning stage, it's probably not visible. It's like, okay, small, it's a small, this is small, then gradually it gets bigger and bigger. It starts to boil up like, okay, this person is out of control and they're just using me financially.
Yeah.
They're sleeping around with so many different people and they're just using me financially. Like I'm that person's bank. They're
Yeah.
coming to you when they need money. They're coming to you because you're handing it out so quickly without asking too many questions. And a lot of people in relationships are victims in this because maybe there's no other way to get out of it, especially like if you're living in a household and you're working and you have siblings that are not working and those siblings need assistance with school or they need tuition paid or something paid. You're stuck because the parents probably can't even do anything about it. They have to say, hey, you're the oldest one, you have to provide for this for the younger ones. Like the manipulation is happening and you probably can't get out of it. Sometimes you just can't walk away.
I think the most important thing is just like to see and I know it's hard when you're in love to really like kind of take a step back and see the signs, because it's like, dude, like love really does make you blind sometimes.
Dude,
and I would say like
love is blind.
it really seriously is, man. 8 years, dude. I have too much experience with this shit. But I would say, I think like now in the future, and to your point, like it's not fair for me to say like, I expect a man to pay for everything. That's not realistic. That's not how I operate. I'm such a giving person. I know I'm not like that anyway. But I would say like, is this person responsible with money? First of all,
that is a good point.
Like, are they paying for clothes and weed and just like food? if they're already responsible with money, I would definitely feel comfortable loaning them money. And especially like, if they're just in the habit of always trying to give and be fair. So like, for example, and I really wish I could interview a guy about this too, because I'm sure so many men have dealt with this, like women using them just for money and trips and bags and who knows what else, and just going out to like fancy dinners and making.
Dude, you're right. I don't want to cut you off, but I want to get back into what you just mentioned, because I had dealt with chicks saying, well, if he gives me bags, gives me this, I'll take it. Okay, but isn't that sending mixed signals that you're leading them on? It's not fair. Like you're just taking the bags, you're taking the money. Okay, but you have no desire to be with this person long term. You're just using them as a bank account. Like this is your sugar daddy. This is, you go to this person if you need this paid or that paid, your nails done, your hair done. Like it's stupid. It's like, okay, you're accepting the gifts. That's considered financially abusing the person. You are technically financially abusing them.
And I'm not proud of this, but I do want to admit it, just because like, I've grown so much. And like, again, like my actions after this came from a place of hurt, came from a place of suspicion. I wanted to protect myself. And for a while after my breakup, when I was dating, I would test the guy. I would test the person.
Don't feel ashamed. Honestly, it's not a bad thing to do. Like you should. You're doing the right thing.
And like the way I would test them is like, even like if we were having dinner or something, like if I offered to pay, and he agreed, that's it. I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. Because again, in my head, I really felt that, like, I'm never letting a man use me for money again. And I felt like a real man wouldn't even dare let a woman pick up the tab. And looking back, that wasn't fair of me. That wasn't fair for me to judge them. Like, it's if I want to offer something, it has to be from my heart. And I don't want to play those types of games anymore with a guy.
And Jasmine, one thing I want to say, like looking back at my situation,
Mhm.
I should have walked away the minute I noticed that you didn't see any money coming back at all. Like
Yes.
one loan, no money. The next loan, no money. Okay, no more after that. Like after those first two loans and you don't see any money coming, there's no point. And I didn't walk away fast enough. And that's what like it's embarrassing because I have to admit I did bring up this situation to my current husband because
Yeah.
I need him to know that this
Mm.
was the BS that I dealt with, and I don't want to deal with this type of BS with you.
Mm.
So I felt he deserved to know that it damaged me, and I kept
Yeah.
feeling resentful, like, oh my God, I want to get him back so bad. I want to get my money back. Like I kept, holding on to hope that this guy was going to pay me back even after the whole court thing. But you know what? I won after this. I'm the winner because I'm not with you. I
Yep.
don't have any kids with you, motherfucker. I am the winner.
Yep.
That's the most liberating feeling. I won. Jasmine won in her situation. After
Yep.
this $25,000 mistake, she fucking won because guess what? She doesn't have to deal with this guy anymore. The
Yep.
next victim probably has to deal with this guy. The next, Jasmine can't stop the next victim, but we're just trying to inspire everyone with this episode that everybody goes through this shit all the time.
Yeah.
Everyone deals with some type of financial abuse and probably don't even realize it's financial
Yeah.
abuse. They don't realize it. And
Yeah.
I never went to my parents and said, oh, this is what he was doing. Sometimes you don't really want to tell your homegirls or your homeboys what's happening. And Jasmine, you can admit, did you tell me right away that your ex was doing all of this? I mean,
I I
we're, guys, we're best friends, and Jasmine did not even
Yep.
tell me that all of this was going on.
And even for me,
She
it's like
didn't.
I've learned so much about this, like even in our conversation now. And it's just like, I think at that time, it's like I didn't want to mention anything because again, this was my first relationship. I had no idea what was normal and what wasn't. I didn't even think this was going to be a problem. I really didn't. I really thought I was doing the right thing and trying to help and support him.
And by the way, 8 years, that's a long time. Like you would think that you're probably never gonna leave this guy. Like
Exactly. In my
you
head, I'm
thought,
like, yeah, like
okay, this is
what's
just a little bump in the road,
yeah.
money's involved, and he's a doorman. I don't know what the salary is for a doorman, but you probably felt, okay, this is just what it's gonna be like in the beginning stages. And he's
Yes.
probably gonna switch jobs. But
Yes.
I really want to bring up something because I know you didn't mention this.
Mhm.
You said in a conversation with me that when you guys lived together, you even saw worse signs. Like you saw he didn't give a crap about paying rent. He didn't
Nope.
give a crap about cleaning. He didn't give a crap about being a fiance. Like not even just being a fiance. He didn't even care about being the man of the household. He didn't even
Not
care
at
about
all.
stepping up or providing for you. Like you were telling me you were holding the fort with paying the rent. And I mean, what was the situation when like what was going through your mind when you were living with him?
Dude, 2 weeks in, no, I guess like maybe a month in, I realized I made the biggest mistake of my life.
Wow. So 2 weeks in, you were like, oh shit, damn.
Yep. Because
Wow.
this, you know what this asshole did? I guess I have to say in the beginning, like I think he paid rent for the first 2 months. And I agreed, like, you know, I would handle food and stuff like that. And again, this is how manipulators work. They'll put it up just so like you could get them to trust them and use it against you later on. So like after the 2 months and like he was working doorman, still doing the overnight shift. I think he purposely got himself fired.
What?
No, yes, I'll go on record.
Wow.
He purposely got himself fired because he's a fucking lunatic, knowing that I would take care of everything. When this guy went on, I reported him for this too, and nothing ever happened. So that's the government for you. When he filed for unemployment, you know what he was spending all of the money on? Not once did he ever offer to pay for everything. He was just spending on himself. He was ordering Seamless all day, Ubers, weed.
What?
I reported his ass and nothing ever came of it. So New York City
Wait,
government.
who did you report him to? Like when you realized that he wasn't
Oh, I did it after the breakup, but I reported it online on the official like New York State government website for unemployment. I reported a fraud report. And I gave all of the details, exactly what he was doing it. This dude was so bad at money. So on unemployment, they give you a debit card basically, and that's how you use the money. He was so bad at money. I would seriously just I just took a picture of the number of the card and I would use it to pay our bills. One time I was able to pay the whole rent and his dumbass never even noticed the money was missing. This is how terrible it was.
Oh my God.
So it wasn't all bad, but still like, yeah, dude, it's crazy. After that, like, you know, unfortunately, again, I thought it was just me being supportive. Like man, I went through a whole roller coaster. I had no idea what was going on. Like,
and one thing, yo, dude, I have to mention this because I really want to like put this out. Yeah. If you're dating someone and you start to give too many gifts in the beginning, Jasmine, oh my God, guys, please, we're begging you. If you're talking to someone, please do not give them gifts too quickly. I'm talking about in terms of, okay, not if it's their birthday, not if it's Valentine's Day. Like, I'm just saying, just gifting them new shoes, new bags, new clothes, and don't do it. It's so...
Looking, dude, and this is why at the, you know, after the breakup, and this is when I lost my train of thought, this I remembered. I made a vow to completely spoil myself because I realized I was so in love with him and I wasn't, you know, I had low self-love, which is why I think like it was compensation. Like I wanted him to feel as good as I wanted someone to treat me. And so after the breakup, I spoiled the hell out of myself. Like I probably like put down like a good $2,000 just online shopping for everything I wanted. Like I really didn't care. And to your point about like with your parents, like, I am so giving with my family and friends now because like, those are the people I want to freaking support, you know? And like, you know, I have to say, I'm so blessed to be like in a I'm really financially blessed right now. Like money has never been an issue for me. Like I'm ready to buy a home soon. Like, so, hey, we were the winners.
Girl, I'm happy for you. Like a lot of people, when they make these financial mistakes, like $25,000 and up, that is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Like people...
Dude, that was the most
not to millionaires and big, you know, other big shot people, but we just feel like if you're living a modest life and you have a certain salary, that's a lot of money to give someone and to not get it back. And for people to be so ruthless once we're doing favors for them and they show no sense of compassion, they don't care about their hurt, they don't care about the person's stress, like the fact that the person's going out of their way to give you all this money and you refuse to give it back to them in any way, shape, or form. It's a disaster. Like, and you have to watch out for these cold-hearted people. And sometimes you don't see it right away when you're talking to them. You don't see it right away. And as Jasmine said, there's nothing wrong with testing people. I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's nothing wrong with testing if you like, not if you do it in a malicious way, but like kind of like when you're going out, like ask a lot of questions, like
Yeah,
not
dude.
questions about money, but like as you're getting to know the person, see if they're telling you, oh, are you gonna pay for this bill? Are you gonna pay for this tip? Like, see how quick they talk about certain things, like asking you to buy them this, buy them alcohol, buy them cigarettes, but like see what type of habits they have in the beginning, you know?
Yeah. Like, are they spending all of their money on like, like alcohol and weed and stuff like that?
Yes.
Like, are they responsible? Like, can you
And
really trust this
people
person
with
to look after you?
potential gambling problems, oh my God.
Dude, yes, please. It's not gonna get better. Trust me.
It's not gonna, yeah, if you're dealing with someone that's constantly talking about, oh, going to gamble and one forward.
Yeah, seriously. And actually, can I ask you, so like, if you had to do things over again, would you have taken legal action in trying to get your money back?
I would not have gone to the courts because I didn't really see a victory out of it. Like going back, I didn't. If he was blocking me so many times and ignoring my texts and like ignoring my calls, I shouldn't even have wasted time going to the courts. Because if you're not in communication with someone who owes you money and it's hard to track them down, you're just gonna get tired after a while. Like, you don't really need to hire a private investigator. You don't need to hunt them down by going through their relatives or going through their friends. And I was doing that. I was going through a friend I had at the time to contact his friends. Like I had to find a way to chase him down to get him to like pay me something. But he was such a difficult he was a difficult a guy to deal with, and I knew he wasn't going to give me any money. So looking back at it, I felt like it was a waste of time to go through the courts. It was a waste of time to even loan him money. I just wish I had said, damn, like,
Mm-hmm.
what was I thinking? Like I should have like listened to like my gut instinct. I should have like walked away every time he stood me up. I should have walked away when he was like complaining about toll or,
Yeah.
constantly having me visit him. And he was
Yeah.
not
Oh my
making it.
God.
Hey,
Oh my God.
Jasmine, this guy would go on and on and on. Oh, meet me here. I'll pick you up there. Meet me here. I'll pick you up. Jasmine, this guy made no effort to putting more mileage to come to my house. Like I always had to like meet him halfway to hang out. Why? Why are we meeting halfway? Why couldn't you put more work into it to see me? Like this guy, I mean,
Yo.
as
Now
you
looking.
said, I'm at peace because now I know what not to do. And I'm in a marriage. I'm happy that we're not in a situation where we're constantly like talking about loaning each other money. Like
Yeah.
when you get married and when you're dealing with the love of your life, you're not really like, oh my God, like you don't really think about what your exes did anymore. Like you just like hold a stronger fort with the current person that you're with, and it gets better, you know?
Mm-hmm. And I'll say that's why like I maybe in the I don't know, like what's it called? The statute of limitations on all of this stuff. Like if I ever find out like he actually has money, like maybe I'll pursue it and I'll be like in a stronger position to do it. Because I have a lot of proof. So but right now I'm like, I really at this point, like, bro, like protecting my energy is priceless. It's
No,
not
you're
worth it
right.
for me at this point. And
And I
honestly,
think,
it was
yeah,
an
no, you're
expensive
absolutely right.
it was an expensive lesson, but again, I'm really glad I went through it because I had to learn somehow. I'm too nice of a person. I'm too giving. And this really showed me that like I really do need clear boundaries and I do not need to pay for stuff to have someone love me.
Dude, you that was a beautiful statement right there. You don't have to pay for stuff to have someone love you. And that's why sometimes I like look at these rappers who are dropping so much money on side chicks, and it's like you really have to drop this amount of money for someone that you know you're not going to be with long term. And it's like, it's so much things that people are doing.
Yeah.
What's the point? Like, if you're not really going to be in a serious relationship with someone, or you guys just playing games with each other, using each other, like, there's no point in spending that much energy.
Yeah.
And with this whole podcast, I'm happy that Jasmine was able to just share her experience with her mistake and
You too,
just
Ashley.
like learn, like, you're stronger now. And that's the most important thing. You're a stronger woman now, and
We both are.
you're inspiring everybody else not to fall in the same trap as you.
Mhm.
Not that many people are fortunate enough to even get out of these toxic situations where they're being financially abused. They're crying out for help and they can't get out of it. And it's a very sad situation. And I'm so happy that we were able to do this episode today. And we hope everyone who's watching tunes into all the other episodes we have coming up. And if you want to see this on video, don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, since we're always posting videos there.
You can see our faces while we talk.
So yeah, if you're also interested in being interviewed on our podcast, we'll definitely put our email address so that you can contact us and say, hey, I want to be on, because we're ready. We're all game.
And I will say, like, if anyone has gone through this and like you want some advice and you want some help, like, please always feel free to reach out to me. Like, I am an open book. You could find us on Twitter, Jasmin and Ashley Podcast. And like, we'll probably have like our personal handles there too. But we're here for you guys, seriously.
Okay, so stay tuned for episode 3. I hope you guys enjoyed episode 2.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.